When you're dealing with a missing persons case, there's an expression in law enforcement, JDLR, just doesn't look right. And the Miramar police have been looking for a missing woman.
I've never seen any police agency try to pull what Miramar pulled in this case.
Their investigation leads them to a field that is strewn with junk. This field is going to be searched. They're going to use cadaver dogs. When they release the dogs, there's a 55-gallon drum laying on its side in the middle of this field. The dogs make a beeline for it, and they alert when they reach it. Police are going to have to open this drum, and what they find inside is going to be horrifying. I spent my career closing murder cases, but I'm not the only one who answered the call. It takes a rare breed to solve the unsolvable, to catch a ruthless killer, to find justice for the dead. That's what it takes to be an American detective.
My name is Detective Danny Smith with the Miramar Police Department. I studied psychology in college, and my intent was to get my foot in the door in law enforcement at a local agency, do a few years there, and then move on to the FBI. And oddly enough, while I was at the Miramar Police Department, I just loved it so much, there's no way that they were going to be able to take me out of it. It's been 14 years, and personally, with this case, it's something that will haunt my memories for the rest of my life. I remember specifically being in our office's homicide unit and having these missing person detectives come in and just pull us aside and go, hey, this is what we have. It's a little bit weird. What do you guys think?
The Miramar Police Department has a missing persons case of a 35-year-old woman named Lisa Spence.
I'll take a look at it. All right.
Lisa's family, they called. They were very vocal in saying there's something that's just not right here.
When a missing persons case is assigned, you first need to determine background of the missing person. Is this someone who's distraught about something and decides to start a new life? Or did some harm come to her?
Your very first step is to go to the people that are closest to them. In this case, the people that were close to her were family, and they were far away. They weren't in South Florida. I was able to speak with Lisa's daughter.
Hello? Lisa Spence is from Trinidad. She and her boyfriend, Paul Edwards, met in 2006 in Trinidad and came to South Florida sometime after that. So she's here, she's with him.
From what we've gathered from the family, she was just a very caring person. She had a great relationship with her family, great relationship with her kids. Coming here wasn't something that, she did easily. She was leaving behind her children, but this was an opportunity for a better life. Not only for her, but for her kids. She felt that she could earn more money here and eventually, bring them over here.
She routinely sends money and property back to Trinidad to support those people, using the most common method used for this, which is 55-gallon drums, because many of the transport ships between Florida and the Caribbean islands are barges. So by using a 55-gallon drum, you are secure in the fact that it's a watertight seal.
Lisa was very close with her daughter. They were more friends than mother-daughter. They really spoke to each other often and shared in each other's lives constantly. She said that on October 7th, Lisa had called her daughter and explained that she was getting off of work soon and she's going to call her when she gets home. That call never came.
All of a sudden, she's disappeared in a puff of smoke.
Fast forward to October 10th, she still didn't call her daughter and she didn't call any members of her family. The pinnacle of that suspicion came when her daughter turned 18, and Lisa never called her daughter to say happy birthday. She missed her 18th birthday.
That's not just a red light. That's a solar flare. There could only be one reason that she didn't call home, and that is that she couldn't.
We went worst case scenario in our minds. So it was a no-brainer at that point to just kind of dig your heels in and start working it. My partner, John Zeller, and I started working the case.
I've worked a few missing persons cases that turned into a homicide, and this one just had all the elements for it.
The idea of the investigation is obviously to go speak with everyone that's closest to Lisa and then work your way out. Paul Edwards, her live-in boyfriend at the time, would be the number one person that we'd want to go talk to and get an idea of where Lisa could be.
So when they meet Paul Edwards, Edwards says that he has been with this woman for 9 years.
Are you guys considered married or?
No, you're not married.
Paul Edwards thought the two had a rocky relationship.
We've had our fights.
Edwards says they've been fighting a lot, arguing a lot.
Since like Labor Day weekend, we've been back and forth as to her leaving and stuff like that because of some issues that we had.
He told us that their relationship fell apart and Lisa said she wanted to leave.
He was hopeful she would change her mind.
I said, I'm gonna give you your space so you can do your thing. So I left. I left the apartment. When I came back, stuff was gone. So it was disappointing because of the fact that you tried so many years to make some things right and it just didn't pan out that way.
He loved her, but she apparently had fallen out of love with him. Then he mentions that he really has the sense that Lisa had a secret part of her life.
Did she keep a lot of secrets from you?
I think she's someone that, how should I put it? She can lock up if she wants to.
Did he shut you out?
Yeah.
He suggested that Smith speak to her coworkers, and perhaps they would know more than he.
Lisa Spence worked 2 jobs at a beauty supply store and then at a small convenience store.
I think you have to understand that Lisa didn't have family here, so her outlet was her coworkers. These were the people that she had around that she can talk to, that she can vent to.
Coworkers love gossip. They engage in it as a sport. They particularly enjoy the dirt, so they're an excellent source of information.
Okay, in reference to your employee, Lisa, how long has she been helping you out here at the store?
Maybe a year and a half.
Has she ever been away this long?
No, she never disappeared like that.
Her boss had mentioned that he had a check ready for her. However, she never picked up that check, and that to him was not common for her.
There is no way she would have left without picking up her last paycheck.
It was just odd.
When Smith meets with the coworkers, he encounters the same general sense from these people. They're worried that something awful has occurred. He speaks to them further. What else do you know about her? And he gets a very interesting answer from more than one of the coworkers.
She told me she has a new boyfriend.
Most of them were talking about this other guy that Lisa just started dating. She was really into him.
When we see her new boyfriend, we got shocked.
Did you ever meet Lisa's new boyfriend?
I met him here in the store when he comes.
And the coworkers say that this fellow comes to see her every day. Really? That's more than somebody that needs to buy a pack of chewing gum now, isn't it?
When hearing about another guy that was in her life, now the number one person that we'd want to go talk to.
Well, now we have the possibility of a new live-in boyfriend. Perhaps this is the secret side of Lisa's life that Paul Edwards was wondering about. So does Lisa Spence have a secret love interest, and it led her to seek a new love nest to live in? It's possible. But one cannot overlook the fact that there's still a concern that she's no longer alive. What exactly is going on?
Once we started asking questions about this new boyfriend, we were able to track down who that person was.
The coworkers explained his name is Max Lewis.
We were able to touch base with him and get some information from him.
You remember when the last time was that you spoke to Lisa? Yeah, I spoke to her last Wednesday night when she was at work. She called me, I spoke to her on the phone. Never heard from her since.
I'm going to speak to someone, and I assume they're lying to me about everything until I can somehow either be convinced that they're not lying or I can prove that they're being honest.
How serious was your relationship?
We got serious a few months ago.
Okay. Did you guys plan on moving in together?
Listen to me, bro. Listen to me carefully. We were supposed to get married. You understand?
He had mentioned that even though they had only been dating for probably less than a month, he wanted to marry her.
Max implies that she wanted to marry him, but he never really admits that she said those words. Interesting. Jealousy is a very powerful thing. What if Lisa says, I'm done with you? No, you're not. I'm going to see to it that you no longer love anyone, because you're going to die right here and right now.
I think that reading people as an investigator is somewhat of a lost art.
Do you remember about what time that was?
In the case of this new boyfriend,
Did you leave the house at all for the rest of the night?
I threw everything at him that I possibly could to try to get him off his game.
Okay, and then on Thursday, the next day,
And to his credit, he was completely honest with me, in my opinion.
do you remember what you did that day?
He did tell us where he was that night that Lisa went missing, and we were able to confirm that through cell phone records.
In this case, it corroborated that he was not in the area. We ruled him out as a suspect.
So Smith has to ponder all of this. This is what he's learned so far. We still have no evidence of a crime. So what does that matter? Well, maybe Lisa's alive.
People will often ask me if finding Lisa was like finding a needle in a haystack, and I say no. Lisa was like trying to find a needle in a stack of needles.
So Smith is sitting there stewing in this mess, trying to decide how to proceed. I've been there, and it's ugly. But one of her brothers, who lives in this country, comes forward.
I have a text from my sister.
We were informed by Lisa's brother that he was receiving text messages from his sister. You know, this is after she went missing. It was strange to us because, hold on, is she truly missing or she's not missing?
The texts say that Lisa Spence has moved to Jacksonville, Florida, and that she's fine and she's going to work on getting herself together and so on. Jacksonville and Miramar are at opposite ends of the state of Florida.
There was a moment of hope. There was a part of me, of course, that was hoping that it was correct and Lisa really was in Jacksonville and she was fine.
But her brother says, you know, this is really unusual. She didn't like to text.
She would call you if she wanted to speak to you, and that right there was suspicious to him. And his words, that's not Lisa. She didn't send these texts.
Something didn't smell right. We want to get to the bottom of this. We want to ensure that either she's alive and kicking or she's not, and either or, we'll deal with it as it comes.
So at that point, we ended up doing a cell site court order. We wanted to get Lisa's cell sites to see if her device actually was in Jacksonville.
Where is this happening at? Okay, is it happening in Jacksonville? Is it happening in Miramar? Is it happening in California? Is it happening in Trinidad? Looking at also the cell sites, we could tell that the phone was nowhere even close to Jacksonville.
In fact, her phone had never left the area of Miramar, South Florida.
Lisa's phone wasn't in Jacksonville, and neither was Lisa.
We're trying to put together a puzzle, and we ultimately bring that back, the relationship between Paul and Lisa.
So Smith keeps talking to people and friends of hers, associates from work. The only thing she talks about is how much she is unhappy with Paul Edwards.
Mainly her close friends would tell us, independent of one another, that it was an abusive relationship.
Did she ever tell you that he hits her or anything like that?
I've heard stories that they have been abused.
There was physical violence from Paul to Lisa.
He hit her and she called me.
That's something that you just can't look past.
So it is apparent of your choices available as a suspect in the disappearance of this woman. Paul Edwards rises to the top. So if Mr. Edwards did this, how would he dispose of the remains? A car. The problem with that theory is Edwards doesn't own a car.
While we were digging around, we learned that Paul had a car rented to him.
Is that a coincidence? No one in the homicide business believes in a coincidence.
We were able to track down the rental car that he had already turned in, and we wanted to do a complete search for any evidence, forensic, hair, blood, anything that we could find.
He hopes to find something in that car that will tie Edwards to the disappearance of this woman.
It was a little bit of a nightmare for the investigation, at least for me in my own head, because I realized that rental car companies will clean the cars.
So the forensic team pores over it. For hours, they look everywhere.
I didn't think that we were going to find anything of value, but we're still going to give it all we've got.
That's what good policemen do. They don't assume failure, they assume victory.
We got lucky. We found a smear of blood in the rear of the vehicle.
Now, they have no DNA from Lisa Spence, but they have human blood in a rental car. Is that damning evidence? No, but it's something. It's a beginning. Now, they have enough to get a search warrant for the Edwards home.
When we went into that house, I was cautiously optimistic. I was hoping that we would see that there was evidence of a major crime scene.
Something, anything that would tell us what happened here. At first glance, it looked like a normal home.
I was a little disappointed.
So now we do a thorough search of the bathroom, and they find something under the vanity.
It was a small mark of blood that was underneath the bathroom vanity. The location was interesting because it's not normally a place that you would find blood if you cut your finger in the bathroom or something along those lines, and it actually had directionality.
The direction of that splatter is from the floor upward under the vanity. It is cast-off stain, cast-off from an instrument. Could be a bludgeon, could be a knife. It's likely that something horrible has happened to Lisa Spence, and it happened right here in Paul Edwards' bathroom. It is a sad fact of humanity that love and murder tie together nicely. Love produces emotion, emotion produces murder.
The best piece of evidence I think that we got from that house was blood evidence in the bathroom. That it came from below the vanity to above really shed some light on the fact that this could possibly be a crime scene.
If Smith's instincts are correct, Lisa Spence died in her own home. Who else is in this home? Paul Edwards. He has emerged as suspect number 1 in this case.
But we couldn't just go and put handcuffs on him. There was no way to get any kind of DNA from a toothbrush, from a stick of deodorant, a hairbrush. Everything that belonged to Lisa was out of that house at that time.
We still have no DNA. There is no body that's been found. So they have circumstantial evidence only, and it's insufficient to proceed to an arrest. But if Lisa Spence is no longer alive, the texts that her brother received from her cell phone were apparently texted from her grave, or texted by someone else who had her phone.
Does Paul have her phone? We need to follow up with that.
Detective Zeller of the Miramar Police Department.
My partner, Detective Zeller, he excels in technology and finding information through electronic sources.
So he obtains the phone records of Paul Edwards.
Take a look at this.
I had plotted Paul Edwards' cell sites. I also plotted Lisa Spence cell sites. And I noticed that there was a lot of tower hits with both phones at the same time. That was weird.
We were able to see that Lisa's phone and Paul's phone were traveling in the same areas, basically mirroring each other.
And this is all after she went missing.
Getting the phone records was a big light bulb moment. I looked at the information and I said, I'm 99% sure that Paul's driving around with Lisa's phone. For me, that's concrete. I look at that and say, that's written in stone, that's what happened. Now, court's a different story.
There is no body that's been found. It's a missing persons case, and that's all it is right now. Instinct won't get it done. Judges don't want to hear about your instinct. It's proof beyond any doubt. He doesn't have that yet.
At this point in the investigation, we all hit a dead end. We didn't know what else we could do to try to generate either tips or evidence or Lisa.
What can we do to rattle Edwards' cage and make him move around and maybe show them where Lisa's phone now is, or better yet, where he disposed of her body?
There was a topic that came up. It was a pretty simple idea. What if we could somehow call Paul or text Paul, make it look like it's coming from Lisa, and then follow him and see what he did?
What's he going to do when he believes he's received a message from the grave? It might set him loose. When someone becomes panicked, they do things they otherwise wouldn't do. Fear is your friend when you're a policeman. Make someone afraid.
One of the ideas that Danny came up with was to clone her phone.
Interesting.
You buy a phone and you do a court order to that phone company saying, can you please transfer Lisa's telephone number to this brand new phone that we bought? And in essence, when I send a text, it would say, text from Lisa, from her cell phone.
My thought process, at least, was, let's give this a shot. What do we have to lose?
I've never seen any police agency try to pull what Miramar pulled in this case.
Over the course of my career, I have often tried to get in the minds of someone who I'm trying to catch. I often ask myself, if I were this person and this happened, how would I react? And in this case, I figured there's a few things that could happen. One, he could call me up and say, Detective Smith, I just got a text from her, she's fine. Or he could not do anything. And then lastly, he could get in his car and he could go somewhere. He could visit someone, someplace.
We were hoping these texts would prompt him to hopefully take us to the body.
When the time came to send that text message to Paul, I thought about her texting pattern.
The importance of the text being correctly done is the key. Wording it to match the voice of Lisa Spence is the thing that would drive the fear off the charts.
The text messages that went to Lisa's brother that supposedly came from Lisa actually had a lot of spelling errors. And I just went right along with that idea. And I wanted to have one word that is not grammatically correct. So it was my idea to type, just wait till I got better.
Not wait till I get better, just wait till I got better.
This is the moment of truth. Let's see if Paul takes the bait. This surveillance team is laying in wait to see what Paul does when he gets a text from the grave.
This idea of sending a text from a clone phone was, to use a football analogy, a Hail Mary. Did I think it was going to work? No, not even a little bit. Did I have to give it a shot? Yeah, absolutely.
I think that Smith's plan was brilliant. Do something different. Do something no one will expect. Smith's taking a chance.
We had aerial surveillance, vehicle surveillance.
We had basically our entire detective bureau in unmarked cars ready to go.
It was a massive operation.
We waited, and we waited until I started to get a little bit nervous because there was no movement. It was just radio silence.
In the first hour after the text is sent, nothing happens. The second hour comes and goes. But in the third hour, Edwards goes mobile. He gets in another rental car that he has, and he begins to drive. The surveillance kicks off, the helicopter spots the car, everything is working.
We wanted to see where he goes.
He was driving erratic. He was making some turns and then some U-turns again.
He does all the things people do when they're trying to see if they're being surveilled.
In an operation like this, I think one of the most important things is don't get made. Don't let him know that we're following him, that we are interested in where he's going, because that will defeat the purpose of everything we're trying to do.
Finally, he becomes convinced he's not being seen.
So at that point, it's a matter of writing down areas near where he was traveling that would be a great place to dump a body.
He passed by a number of vacant fields, a number of different areas with high grass or trees.
He went to many different places, but one of the places was an area in Miami Gardens, which is the city that is just south of us. He drove up to this residence, stopped briefly. We could see that he did speak to the person that was at that residence and turned around and left.
Well, we might as well go talk to this person.
She gave an interesting story.
So I was kind of surprised that he even showed up today.
She said that she was friends with Paul, and Paul was going to install an appliance, but she found it weird that Paul showed up at her house. She didn't have the appliance yet, and she didn't make those plans yet with him.
So they think that's kind of odd.
Hey, look at that field.
But at that moment, they look to the left of the place, and they see a vacant field.
So you have this bunch of big trees that are over there, and junk.
It looks like a dumping ground. There's couches out there and tons of garbage.
It's a good place to hide something in plain view. Maybe it wasn't Edward's purpose to talk to this individual. Maybe it was his purpose to look at this field to make certain whatever he put there was still there.
We had put together a search team which was comprised of several detectives and also a cadaver dog.
I remember the Detective Bureau reaching out to me. They requested that I come out and utilize Canine Jewel.
Cadaver dogs are different than search dogs. They're trained to detect the odor of human remains. They will find a buried body with their nose.
Zeller and I arrived, and there was just this massive tree, I just remember, and there were vultures circling overhead. And I'll never forget the words he told me. He's like, I have a good feeling about this one.
I just had this feeling, don't ask me why, I had this feeling that this was going to be the spot.
And I just thought, there was no way they were going to find anything here. We're talking about acres upon acres upon acres upon acres of land.
I remember this clear as like it was yesterday. As soon as he opened that door, that dog darted over to this big tree over there and sat down right there in front of a barrel.
Canine Jewel started going into changes of behavior to target odor.
And I'm like, oh my God, we have something here.
You really couldn't smell anything coming from it, but you just knew that, there was something else in there.
Whatever is in this barrel is human, or at least it was.
This barrel was a 55-gallon drum, and it's commonly used to transport goods. It was secured very well. It was about as close to airtight as it can get.
We had made the determination, it's best not to open it here. Let's have the barrel transported to the Miami-Dade Medical Examiner's office, and it would be opened over there. Saw them take the barrel out, and I saw them empty out the contents of the barrel. That'll be a day that I'll never, ever, ever, ever forget.
I have done this, and it is a very unpleasant affair.
The stench was something that I had never smelled before.
They pour out the contents of the drum. It contains the remains of a black female.
There was a lot of decomposition that was happening. The obvious injury was the decapitation. There was no head in the barrel, so it was just a body from the neck down.
We have 95% of a body, but not the last 5%.
It's important to now try to identify this person.
So there was a good indicator that this was probably going to be Lisa, but we couldn't be sure yet until we did the actual DNA testing.
John Zeller and I went down to Trinidad, and we took DNA swabs from Lisa's daughter and We ultimately bring that back to our labs down here and then compared to the DNA from the body that was found in the barrel. When we get the lab reports back, we're able to determine that the body in that barrel is in fact Lisa Spence.
In the opinion of the medical examiner, the body had been dead for approximately 6 weeks.
There were minimum 33 stab wounds. This was personal.
You are stabbing them 33 times. You don't want to kill them. You want to punish them. They are responsible for your rage, and you're getting even every time you feel that blade go in their body.
My personal opinion, the amount of stab wounds, I believe, put her to the point where she was almost decapitated. I do not believe that was done in order to get her in that barrel.
Whoever did this was some violent monster.
Once Lisa was identified, we go back to the blood that was collected from the rental car that Paul Edwards was driving, and that, in fact, came to Lisa Spence. The blood in the bathroom was also found to be blood belonging to Lisa Spence. At that point, we had enough to effect an arrest.
The evidence against Mr. Edwards is overwhelming. It's him, nobody else. It's just him.
It was satisfying to put the handcuffs on him and let him know verbally, you're under arrest. I was hoping that I could ask a number of questions that I wanted answers to.
But there's no possibility for that. Edwards immediately demands an attorney. He makes no statement.
He was taken to jail. It was simple and a very quick ending to a long investigation.
So one has to assume that certain things took place in that event that caused the untimely demise of Lisa Spence.
I believe that the crime occurred in the home shared by Paul and Lisa.
Lisa's family says Paul was a controlling boyfriend who demanded the presence of Lisa Spence 24 hours a day. And the time he left her alone was when she was at work.
And at some point, she had decided, to leave.
Based on the available evidence, the likely scenario is that Paul Edwards loses control. Rage fills up his mind. He throws her on the floor in the bathroom and attacks her with a knife and stabs her repeatedly, so much so her head falls off. The ultimate rage murder.
I believe that that barrel was once in their home, and it was a crime of opportunity.
So Lisa Spence wound up inside the barrel that was supposed to take money to her family and abandoned in a vacant field like so much garbage.
I think that's one of the things that bothers me most about where Lisa ended up. It's sad that her life was ended and she was disposed like garbage.
The matter goes to trial in the state of Florida, and the jury, in a period of only 3 hours, finds Paul Edwards guilty of murder in the first degree.
He stabbed her 30 times. You can't look at him and think there's a spark of a human being in here.
A judge sentences him to life in prison in the state of Florida.
Although the investigation ended with a positive result for investigators, We were still never able to find any of Lisa's belongings. We never found her phone. And quite frankly, we were unable to ever find where her head was. And that still to this day, I think, haunts all the investigators that worked that case.
These detectives did a remarkable job in this particular case because they looked outside the norm. Innovation often leads to results.
An evil man is now behind bars and will not hurt anybody ever again. Bottom line.
Lisa Spence, by all accounts, she was loved, well-liked, and I think that the family always seemed to appreciate the time that they did have with Lisa.
Her motivation to leave Trinidad was to improve the life of her own family. She had selected Paul Edwards as her male companion, and she made a mistake. What a tragic end. A mother and a family member was trying to make a better life for everyone and lost her own life in the process. On the next American Detective.
This was the most dynamic case I have ever seen in my life.
He screamed at me that I should keep my mouth shut or else he was going to kill me.
And I've seen some horrendous crime scenes, and this is one of the most horrendous.
Who are we dealing with? Jack the Ripper?
Report to come back to finally make an actual finding. It will take a few weeks before those results arrive. So we waited on pins and needles for the truth to come out. We just knew that there was something was very wrong. Thank you. When the toxicology report on Steve Clayton's blood comes back, it is shocking. It shows traces of several sedatives, including marijuana, temazepam, and Benadryl. But that is not all. The biggest shock in the toxicology results was tetrahydrozoline, also known as THC. It is the active ingredient in eye drops like Visine, Murine, or other over-the-counter eye drops. THC is not ever meant to be ingested. Given in small doses, it makes you feel very ill. It makes you nauseous. It makes you dizzy. It will make you pass out eventually. But in large quantities, it is deadly. It shuts your central nervous system down, and it will kill you. The detectives learned that THC can limit the blood supply to vital organs, leading to a heart attack. When the body chem goes up there, the Visine you see is on the tall dresser. That is away from the bed. That is where he cannot get up to get the Visine. Now it is very clear. This is not a natural death. Detective Moats needs to have a talk with Lana Clayton. 5 weeks after the sudden death of her husband, Lana Clayton is questioned by detectives. You know, if you were a witness in this case for us, the detectives want to know more about the medications found in Steve's blood. You know what he would say? He took Benadryl. It is a long list. But there is no mention of THC, the drug that killed Steve. It is colorless. It is odorless, and it is tasteless, which makes it the perfect thing to give to someone if you want to poison them. The level of THC in Steve's blood was so high that it was clear that it was a cause of death. It is a lethal level, no matter what way you look at it. The detectives press on. Somehow or another, there was a large amount of Visine in his system. So that is what we are trying to get to the bottom of. I know he puts a Visine in his coffee. He puts it in there every day. What do you know about it? What I know about it? I know it makes you have diarrhea. There are basically two things that the police are now considering. One, he is poisoned. There's foul play. 2, he ingested it on his own, whether it was intentional or unintentional. But as police probe Steve and Lana's relationship, how has your life been? Sometimes we would have fun and everything. And then sometimes I would be on eggshells. All the time I was on eggshells. Lana claims that Steve had a dark side. He can be really nasty. What does nasty Steve look like? He is really verbally abusive, calling me names. Like what would he call you? I do not know. Stupid bitch. I do not know. Just all kinds of things. I could see it escalating until you notice just, try and stay out of his way. After Lana's interview, detectives order a search of the house. They're looking for cups or glasses that have a residue in them. They are looking for anything they can find that helps them determine what could have caused this. Anything document-wise that would show trouble in the marriage. But during that time, Lana tells the officer that she wants to speak again with Detective Moats. Detective Moats records what Lana has to say. I told you a little bit about Stephen. That was worse than what I told you. He was verbally and physically abusive. Lana, for God's sake, and yell at me and call me names. His anger built up, you know. I would do something that would irritate him until the point where he would explode. Okay, what are you trying to do? Huh? After he had that incident, which he said it was vertigo, and I was taking care of him and everything. But I was still so angry. And my girlfriend at work told me, you want to get even with somebody, you know, put Visine in a drink. It will cause diarrhea. It is then that Lana drops a bombshell. When I saw that Visine on the table, it just came back to me, and I just took and squirted it. And what did you squirt it into? His water. Into his water? So you do not know the full amount. I mean, you just squeezed. I think I put the whole thing in. So the whole bottle? I think I did. I squeezed it hard. I just saw it there, and I just did it. What are your plans tonight now? Just stay here. You will be okay. I know it is a lot on your plate. Just what if I do? What if I cause his death with the Visine? Anything else that you want to add? No. If there is more, you know, get off your chest. That is it. It is a damning confession. But the detectives cannot arrest Lana just yet. After Lana confessed, the police left. They got their ducks in a row as far as what charges would be made. And they were ready to come back the next day to arrest Lana Clayton. But early that morning, they get a call from one of Lana's neighbors. They found notes of suicide. They are afraid that she has harmed herself. She knew the police were coming back the next day, and she knew they would have warrants for arrest. She turned the gas on and went upstairs and took some pills to kill herself. They find her unconscious in her bed. She is taken into the hospital where she is treated and ultimately released, and then immediately arrested on the charges of murder and tampering with food items. The family is informed of Lana's arrest. A detective from York County called me and said, "Hey, Nick, you know, I just want to bring you up to speed here." Lana confessed, and I pulled over right away. It hit me like a ton of bricks, literally like a baseball bat to the face. I answered the phone, and Rosie was on the other end screaming that she killed him on January 16th, 2020. Lana accepts a plea deal and admits guilt on charges of voluntary manslaughter and tampering with a drug or food product. The original indictment was for murder. You were pleading to a lesser offense, voluntary manslaughter. My own knowledge of Ida was by watching movies and the cause of discomfort and diarrhea. Lana insists she never intended for Steve to die and just wanted revenge for his abuse. But his friends and family do not buy that. Steve was ever abusive. She tries to assassinate Steve's character because other people who knew him and who he had met came forward to say he was a wonderful person. There was no abuse of any sort with Stephen. She was trying to do whatever she could to save herself from a very, very, very long sentence and possibly the death penalty. But he was a gentle soul, not capable of harming someone. Based on the toxicology report, the prosecutors believe Steve suffered for 3 days before dying. Lana tells us that the fatal dose was on Thursday morning. But we know as a matter of scientific fact from the toxicologist that is impossible. He would have died Thursday morning if he had ingested that Thursday morning. For him to have been sick all of that time, it indicates that she continually gave him medication throughout that time, poisoned him with Visine little by little. And Lana, a nurse, never sought to help him after the initial poisoning. Stephen would not have stayed in a urine-soaked mattress. He was a clean freak. He would not have stood for such a thing. He is too weak to get up and move. There is no phone in the house. There is no landline, so he cannot call somebody. So this puts him in the situation of being tortured with no way to get help. And so finally she knew Saturday, that is it. And she squeezed a whole bottle of Visine into his water, had him drink it, and then goes out to mow the grass. So she did not have to watch the horror of his death. Instead of a nurse that helps, she is the nurse from hell. 53-year-old Lana Clayton is sentenced to 25 years in prison. She never admitted that she intended to kill Steve, but the facts show otherwise. I feel like there is no penalty that would have been great enough for Lana. This is 3 days of methodically poisoning my best friend and then killing him. The thought process that had to go into her putting on this charade. And she carried that right on through till the end. And I think that is the definition of a monster. But Lana almost got away with it. There almost was not an autopsy. If there had not been an autopsy, the ruling of the coroner would have been, this was likely a heart episode, and it was natural causes. The truth is she did this to herself. You know, had she been just the same quiet, gentle Lana grieving the loss of Steve, no one would have had any suspicion whatsoever. Although Lana insists Steve's death was unintentional, his family and the prosecution believe it was a deliberate act motivated by financial gain. One obvious and glaring motive is Steve's wealth. Without a will in the state of South Carolina, everything goes to the spouse. So Lana would know, if Steve is gone, I get everything. If somebody wanted to do something malicious like this, all they had to do was get rid of the will, and everything belonged to them. The family tried to move on without Steve in their lives. Hello. I mean, I miss a lot about Steve, but I miss his voice. I miss hearing his voice. This is my way of, getting away from the emotional stuff. I think what I miss about Steve is his over-the-top personality. This big, boisterous, gregarious character that enters a room and just takes over everything. Steve was an amazing person. It has been difficult not having him around. The thing I miss the most about Steve is his laughter and his ability to light up a room. Stephen was stolen from everyone who loved him. Steve was stolen from everyone who loved him. The story of Stephen Clayton is a testament to the profound impact one individual can have when they choose to live life with an open heart, an infectious laugh, and an unshakable commitment to the people around them. To understand the depth of his legacy, one must look at the way he filled every room he entered, leaving an indelible mark on his family, his friends, and the many lives he touched throughout his journey. He was a man of remarkable success. Yet his truest wealth was never measured in bank accounts or physical possessions, but in the boundless generosity and love he extended to the world. From his earliest days, Stephen displayed a vibrant energy that seemed almost larger than life. Growing up as a big brother to 4 sisters, he naturally stepped into a protective, guiding role. His youngest sister, Rosemary, always looked up to him as her ultimate hero. To a little girl, Stephen was everything a big brother should be. He was strong, confident, and athletic, making a name for himself on the high school football field and dominating on the wrestling mat. That physical prowess and larger-than-life presence made him seem completely invincible to those who loved him. Yet behind that tough, athletic exterior lay a deeply sensitive soul, a man who cared immensely for his family and possessed a natural ability to bring joy and laughter to any situation. As Stephen transitioned into adulthood, his sharp intellect and determined spirit became increasingly evident. After graduating from high school, he attended college and earned a degree in finance, quickly maturing into an incredibly shrewd and capable businessman. Stephen possessed a rare combination of financial acumen and visionary thinking. Along with a business partner, he founded a company named Physical Therapy Resources. Through hard work, strategic planning, and an unwavering commitment to quality care, they built the business from the ground up. What started as a modest venture eventually blossomed into a massive national company, with physical therapy centers established all across the country. It was during his time working within the hospital system that Stephen formed many lifelong connections, demonstrating a professional excellence that earned him the respect of colleagues nationwide. Despite his immense professional success, Stephen never allowed his career to consume his entire identity. He had set a personal goal for himself to retire by the age of 40. While he missed that specific target by a single year, retiring instead at the age of 41 after successfully selling his interest in the company. The achievement was nothing short of extraordinary. Free from the demands of corporate life, Stephen found himself in a position that many only dream of, Yet, rather than retreating into a life of idle luxury, he chose to use his freedom, his resources, and his time to give back to others. Retirement allowed Stephen to become a dedicated mentor to a large group of young men. He spent countless hours helping aspiring entrepreneurs launch their own businesses, guiding them through the complexities of finance and strategy, and helping them discover the direction they wanted their lives to take. His generosity was not passive. He did not merely write checks. Instead, Stephen invested his personal time, his wisdom, and his boundless energy into the future of others. He was a constant source of inspiration, proving that true success lies in lifting others up. Amidst his various philanthropic endeavors, Stephen always made his family his absolute priority. His relationship with his sisters, particularly his youngest sister Rosemary, remained a cornerstone of his life. In April of 2006, the family experienced a profound loss when their beloved father passed away. The grief was heavy, leaving a significant void in their lives just 11 months before Rosemary was scheduled to be married. Understanding the emotional weight of the situation, Rosemary turned to her big brother, asking Stephen if he would step in and walk her down the aisle. Without a moment of hesitation, Stephen accepted the responsibility, determined to honor their father's memory and support his sister on the most important day of her life. On March 10th, 2007, the family gathered in Miami for Rosemary's wedding to William Leslie. It was a beautiful, sentimental day, filled with a poignant mixture of joy and tears. The absence of their father hung gently in the air, but Stephen's presence provided a grounding sense of comfort and strength. When the traditional question was asked during the ceremony, inquiring who gave the woman to be married to the groom, Stephen spoke clearly and from the heart, stating that he did so in the cherished memory of their father. It was a powerful, emotional moment that set the tone for the entire celebration. As the evening progressed into the reception, Stephen truly became the life and soul of the occasion. Known for his incredible humor and spontaneous nature, he was always the first person to stand up and deliver a toast. He never relied on prepared notes. Instead, his speeches were completely ad-libbed, flowing directly from his heart. Stepping up to the microphone, he brought his characteristic energy to the room, instantly shifting the atmosphere from tearful sentimentality to joyful celebration. He looked at the groom, expressing his deep gratitude to William for making his sister so incredibly happy, before turning his thoughts to their late father. Stephen was never one to hide his emotions, and as he spoke his father's final wish for him to take care of Rosemary, his voice carried a profound sincerity. He commended the newlyweds on their wonderful partnership, stating that he had never seen his sister happier, before masterfully transitioning back into humor to keep the mood light and celebratory. The highlight of the reception came during the traditional dance, where Stephen stepped in to share a powerful moment with Rosemary. Before the music began, a surprise recording of their dearly departed father played over the speakers. The voice spoke of tender memories, recalling how Rosemary would climb onto his knee as a little girl and say how much she loved him, expressing how deeply those days were missed. The emotional impact was overwhelming, bringing tears to the eyes of everyone present. Throughout that momentous day, Stephen fulfilled countless roles with effortless grace. He acted as a father figure, the best man, the entertainer, and the calming force that kept everyone laughing and comfortable. He was a natural leader, guided by a deep well of love for his family. While Stephen's professional life had been remarkably stable and his family relationships flourished, his romantic life had historically been somewhat rocky. He was a man who possessed a clear vision of what he wanted in a partner. He searched for someone who was just as focused, determined, loving, and caring as he was. An exceptionally tall order to fill given his own immense personality and capacity for giving as he reached the age of 52. His family began to wonder if he would ever find that special person capable of connecting with him on an emotional, intellectual, and spiritual level. That answers came in the late months of 2009, when Stephen decided to leave his familiar surroundings in the state of Florida for a change of pace in North Carolina. Stephen possessed a deep love for physical activity and the great outdoors. He relished long walks, gardening, and anything that allowed him to immerse himself in nature. The move to North Carolina offered him the perfect opportunity to indulge these passions on a much grander scale. Within just a few months of settling into his new environment, Stephen joyfully announced his family that he had met someone incredibly special. Those close to him instantly noticed a renewed glow in his demeanor, a visible excitement that had been missing for some time. The woman who had captured his heart was Lana Walsh, a nurse who was 12 years his junior and had grown up in Oklahoma. In many ways, Lana was a complete opposite of Stephen. While Stephen possessed a gigantic, boisterous, and gregarious personality that commanded attention, Lana struck people as being remarkably quiet, sweet, and unassuming. She was a gentle presence, often described as a wallflower in social settings. Yet, despite these striking differences in temperament, the connection between them was undeniable. Stephen was completely captivated by her sweet nature, and it was not long before they became entirely inseparable. They displayed a profound affection for one another, always seen arm in arm, with Stephen constantly hugging her, squeezing her, and showering her with kisses. Seeing his brother so profoundly in love, Rosemary and the rest of the family warmly embraced Lana into their hearts. As their relationship deepened, Stephen used his characteristic powers of persuasion to convince Lana to move to Charlotte to build a life together. They quickly began to establish a home, adding new members to their household in the form of 2 beloved Italian greyhounds. The first dog they welcomed was named Guinness, and their mutual love for the elegant breed soon led them to adopt a second, a sweet female named Sadie. Stephen found a profound sense of peace and grounding in Lana's presence. He frequently spoke of her with immense tenderness, affectionately referring to her as his Lana Sue, unable to conceal the deep love that had reshaped his future. 6 years after his sister's wedding, Stephen's own dream of finding a lifelong partner culminated in a beautiful ceremony. In November 2013, Stephen and Lana were married at their home in Charlotte. It was a lovely, intimate day, attended by family members who traveled from far and wide to celebrate the union. The mutual devotion between the bride and groom was radiant, visible to everyone who witnessed them exchange their vows. Shortly after their wedding, the couple decided to relocate to their definitive dream home, purchasing a stunning property just over the border in South Carolina, nestled along the scenic banks of Lake Wylie. The new residence was a spectacular ocean blue home situated on a gorgeous piece of lakefront property, looking very much like a scene from a picture postcard. Stephen and Lana threw themselves into refurbishing and decorating the house, filling it with Stephen's extensive collection of unique artworks and cherished antiques. Stephen was a person for whom objects held deep personal meaning, and he took immense pride in curating a beautiful, welcoming environment. The location also allowed them to fully indulge their shared love for nature and outdoor activities, with Stephen always being the first to enthusiastically participate in any lakeside fun. The move to South Carolina also brought the couple closer to Stephen's extended family. Nick French, who had married Stephen's niece in 2010, officially becoming his nephew, spent an immense amount of time with the couple. They frequently gathered for dinners, attended concerts, and celebrated holidays together, forming a tight-knit and supportive family network. Additionally, the home was just a short 30-minute drive from Lana's son and her twin granddaughters, providing ample opportunities for family gatherings. Stephen, who remained a child at heart throughout his life, possessed a natural gift for interacting with children. He was a kind of uncle and grandfather who would happily get down on the floor to play games, filling the house with laughter and joy. The Clayton household was constantly filled with vibrant energy. Whether Stephen was attempting to playfully describe the rules of the limbo dance to the twin granddaughters while Lana filmed, or participating in silly children's games like turning the handles of a toy spinner, his good humor was always on display. The children adored him, constantly hanging on to him like a giant teddy bear, while Lana happily participated in the fun. By all appearances, 5 years into their marriage, Stephen and Lana were thriving, living an idyllic life surrounded by beauty, family, and mutual affection. However, in June of 2018, this peaceful existence was suddenly interrupted when Stephen fell unexpectedly ill. He began complaining of severe vertigo, intense dizziness, nausea, and a sharp pain in his ear, while working outside in his beloved garden. The symptoms became so overwhelming that he began to vomit, forcing him to seek relief indoors. Believing he might have suffered from a severe case of sunstroke due to the summer heat, Stephen laid down to rest. According to his later recollections, the illness was so profound that 36 hours passed before he opened his eyes again. When Rosemary called home to check on her brother, she was deeply concerned to hear about the mysterious illness. To lose 36 hours of time was highly unusual for a person of any age, let alone someone as historically active and robust as Stephen. Lana, drawing upon her professional background as a registered nurse, reassured Rosemary that she was monitoring him closely, ensuring he remained comfortable and rested. The family took comfort in the fact that a trained medical professional was by his side, administering care and watching over his recovery. Within 2 weeks, Lana's care seemed to have yielded excellent results. Stephen appeared to make a full recovery, returning entirely to his normal, energetic self. He threw a spectacular celebration for the 4th of July, welcoming family and friends to their lakefront home. Throughout the party, Stephen was his characteristically affectionate and boisterous self, grabbing Lana to dance and encouraging everyone else to join in the festivities. The couple looked completely in love, and any lingering worries about Stephen's health quickly dissipated, leaving the family confident that they would enjoy many more happy years together. Tragedy struck unexpectedly on July 21st, 2018, when an emergency call was placed to the York County Emergency Services from the Clayton residence. Law enforcement units arrived swiftly at the scene, where body camera footage captured the somber atmosphere. Upon entering the front doors of the grand home, officers discovered Stephen lying unresponsive at the bottom of the elegant staircase. Tragically, he had already passed away. The responding officers spoke in quiet, respectful whispers, fully aware that a distraught and deeply grieving Lana was just around the corner. Sergeant Day, the lead officer on the scene, gently approached Lana to gather information regarding the circumstances surrounding Stephen's passing. Lana, visibly overwhelmed, explained that Stephen had been suffering from a return of his severe vertigo symptoms over the preceding 2 days. She recounted that on Thursday morning he had stood up, became intensely dizzy, and collapsed. She described the immense effort it took to help him upstairs to bed, noting that he had not been back downstairs since that moment. She further explained that she had briefly gone outside to mow the lawn, and upon returning, discovered him at the bottom of the stairs, panic-stricken and unable to revive him. She ran outside to wave down a passing motorcyclist to call for emergency assistance. Word of Stephen's passing spread quickly through the family. Nephew Nick French, who was on duty as a police officer at the time, received the devastating news via phone call from his mother. The shock was immediate and profound. The concept of the robust, life-loving Stephen being gone seemed entirely impossible. Rosemary, receiving the news hundreds of miles away, was collapsed in disbelief. Nick and the local family members immediately rallied around Lana, offering comfort and support during what they imagined was an unimaginable nightmare for the grieving widow. Lana continually expressed her heartbreak, voicing her profound hope that Stephen had not suffered during his fall down the stairs. Sergeant Day conducted a thorough initial inspection of the residence to rule out any immediate signs of foul play. Walking through the large, beautifully decorated home, he looked for indications of a struggle or unauthorized entry. The master bedroom showed a rumpled bed sheet, but there was no evidence of violence or an altercation. The initial assessment by the medical examiner suggested that the physical presentation did not align with a traumatic fall down the staircase. as there were no significant contusions or external injuries indicating an impact. Instead, the coloration of Stephen's face and upper chest showed a distinct blueness, a classic physiological sign that often points toward a sudden and massive heart attack. Based on these physical observations, the coroner initially indicated that the cause of death appeared to be a natural cardiac event. Sergeant Day shared this preliminary finding with Lana, offering words of comfort and suggesting that perhaps it was simply the day that a higher power had chosen for Stephen to depart. While Lana processed the somber news, Nick French and other family members began the difficult task of helping to tidy the home, wanting to ensure the environment remained comfortable for Lana as she faced the difficult days ahead. However, when the family members went upstairs to the master bedroom to assist with cleaning, they made a highly unsettling discovery. The room was filled with a powerful, unmistakable odor of human distress and neglect. Upon closer inspection of the bed, they found massive, deep discoloration spots in the center of the mattress, indicating that a significant amount of fluid had soaked completely through the heavy material. The sheer volume suggested that Stephen had been incapacitated and unable to leave the bed for several days. Disturbed by the condition of the room, Nick and the family members immediately worked to remove the heavy, soiled mattress from the home, throwing it outside while a cloud of troubling questions began to form in their minds. When Rosemary spoke with Lana later that evening, further discrepancies began to emerge. Rosemary questioned why medical assistance had not been called sooner if Stephen had been so profoundly ill for days. Lana responded that Stephen had initially seemed to be improving and had spent much of the time sleeping heavily. When asked about Stephen's cell phone, which was famously always attached to him, Lana claimed that he had misplaced it over a week prior. For a meticulous businessman who relied heavily on communication, the idea of Stephen being without his phone for a week struck Rosemary as deeply out of character. A growing sense of unease began to take hold within the family, suggesting that something far more sinister had occurred behind the closed doors of the lakefront home. The suspicion deepened significantly regarding the matter of Stephen's estate. Stephen had always been incredibly meticulous regarding his financial affairs and had frequently discussed the importance of having everything in order. He had clear, explicit wishes to be buried in a specific, beautiful cemetery in Fort Lauderdale alongside family members. However, when Rosemary inquired about his will, Lana firmly stated that no such document existed. Furthermore, Lana moved with extraordinary speed to arrange for Stephen's cremation and began clearing his personal belongings out of the house. By the time a memorial service was held at the home on August 4th, 2018, the family was shocked to discover that Stephen's entire wardrobe had already been completely emptied from a master closet and donated to the Veterans Affairs Organization. Countless empty hangers lined the space where his clothes once hung. Furthermore, his valuable watches, personal jewelry, and even his wedding ring were entirely missing from the home. The idea that a trained accountant and financial planner would leave a substantial estate without a formal will defied all logic. Convinced that the pieces of the puzzle did not fit, the family took decisive action, contacting the medical examiner's office to formally request a comprehensive autopsy and a full toxicology screening. Detective Motes of the York County Sheriff's Office was assigned to investigate the family's concerns. While the initial autopsy findings officially listed signs of underlying heart disease consistent with the natural causes theory, the final determination hinged entirely on the results of the comprehensive toxicology report. The family endured weeks of anxious waiting, holding on to the firm conviction that the truth would eventually come to light. When the toxicology results finally returned from the laboratory, the findings were nothing short of shocking. The analysis of Stephen's blood revealed the presence of several mild sedatives, including traces of marijuana, temazepam, and Benadryl. However, the most alarming and definitive discovery was a massive, lethal concentration of tetrahydrozoline. Tetrahydrozoline is a potent chemical compound commonly utilized as the active ingredient in over-the-counter redness relief eye drops. While safe for its intended topical ophthalmic use, the chemical is highly toxic if ingested. In small amounts, it induces severe dizziness, profound nausea, blurred vision, and drops in blood pressure. In large doses, it acts as a powerful neurotoxin, rapidly shutting down the central nervous system, slowing the heart rate, and ultimately causing death. Investigating officers recalled that during their initial walk through the master bedroom, a bottle of eye drops had been observed resting on a tall dresser, positioned completely out of reach from the bed, where an incapacitated person could access it. It became immediately clear to detectives that Stephen's death was not the result of natural causes. Detective Moat scheduled a formal interview with Lana Clayton to delve into the medications present in her late husband's system. During the questioning, which took place 5 weeks after Stephen's passing, detectives carefully guided a conversation toward Stephen's health habits. Lana freely discussed his use of various over-the-counter remedies, mentioning his frequent intake of Benadryl, yet she made absolutely no mention of eye drops. The chemical itself is entirely colorless, odorless, and virtually tasteless when dissolved in liquid, making it an undetectable agent when introduced into food or beverages. The concentration discovered in Stephen's blood was overwhelmingly lethal, leaving no scientific doubt regarding the cause of his demise. As the detectives pressed further into the dynamics of the marriage, Lana began to paint a dark portrait of their domestic life. She claimed that she had lived in a constant state of anxiety, walking on eggshells due to what she described as Stephen's volatile temper. She alleged that he was frequently verbally abusive, calling her derogatory names and exhibiting explosive bursts of anger. She claimed that she had learned to simply stay out of his way to avoid escalating conflicts. Following the interview, law enforcement executed a thorough search warrant of the Lake Wiley residence, seeking any vessels, cups, or glasses that might contain chemical residues, as well as financial documents or correspondence indicating marital strife. During the course of the search, Lana approached the officers, expressing a desire to speak further with Detective Moats. In a subsequent recorded statement, Lana delivered a series of startling admissions. She claimed that Stephen's alleged behavior had been far worse than previously described, involving physical intimidation. She stated that following the initial incident in June, which had left her feeling deeply resentful, she recalled a conversation with a former colleague who had mentioned that surreptitiously adding eye drops to someone's drink would induce severe gastrointestinal distress as a means of retaliation. Lana then confessed to a decisive action. She admitted that upon seeing the bottle of eye drops on the table, she had taken it and squeezed the entire contents into Stephen's drinking water. She stated that she had squeezed the bottle forcefully, emptying the fluid entirely before presenting it to him. She expressed a sudden, outward worry to the detective, questioning if her actions had inadvertently caused his passing. While the confession was incredibly damning, detectives maintained a calm demeanor, allowing her to remain at the residence while they meticulously prepared the necessary formal arrest warrants and charges. Early the following morning, emergency services received a frantic call from one of Lana's neighbors. The neighbor had discovered deeply troubling notes indicating an intent to self-harm, sparking immediate fears for Lana's safety. Recognizing that law enforcement would be returning with warrants, Lana had turned on the gas supply within the home and ingested a significant quantity of pills in a desperate attempt to evade justice. Responding officers discovered her unconscious in the master bed. She was rushed to a local hospital, where medical staff successfully treated her. Upon her discharge, she was immediately taken into lawful custody and formally charged with murder and the malicious tampering of food products. The news of the confession and subsequent arrest reverberated through the family. When Nick French received the definitive call from investigators confirming the confession, the realization hit him with immense force, completely shattering any lingering doubts. Rosemary, upon hearing the news, was overcome with an intense wave of grief and outrage. Her cries echoing profound pain of losing her beloved brother to an act of ultimate betrayal. On January 16, 2020, the legal proceedings reached a conclusion when Lana Clayton accepted a negotiated plea agreement. She entered a formal plea of guilty to the lesser offense of voluntary manslaughter, alongside charges of tampering with food or drug product. During the hearing, Lana maintained that she had never intended to cause Stephen's death, asserting that her understanding of the chemical's effects had been garnered strictly from popular media portrayals, believing it would merely cause temporary physical discomfort and diarrhea as a form of petty revenge. However, Stephen's family, friends, and the prosecution fiercely rejected this narrative. Numerous individuals whom Stephen had mentored and supported throughout his life came forward to testify to his exceptionally gentle, kind, and generous nature, soundly refuting any allegations of domestic misconduct. They argued that the claims were a calculated attempt to assassinate Stephen's character in a bid to secure a reduced sentence and avoid the possibility of extreme penalties. The scientific evidence provided by the toxicologist further dismantled the defense's timeline, while Lana claimed she had administered a single, fatal dose on Thursday morning. The medical reality indicated that such a massive quantity would have caused near instantaneous mortality. The fact that Stephen had been profoundly ill, incapacitated, and suffering over a period of 3 days clearly demonstrated that the toxin had been systematically administered in smaller, consecutive doses over an extended time frame. As a trained nurse, Lana was fully aware of the deteriorating physical signs of central nervous system depression, yet she deliberately chose to withhold medical intervention. The prosecution emphasized the cruel reality of Stephen's final days. Stephen, who was widely known by his loved ones to be an absolute clean freak who took immense pride in his personal hygiene, would never have willingly remained in a soil bed. He was rendered completely paralyzed and too physically weak to seek assistance. With no landline telephone available and his mobile phone intentionally hidden, he was left entirely defenseless, subjected to a prolonged period of physical torment without any means of summoning help. The final, massive dose was administered on Saturday, after which Lana went outside to perform routine yard work, intentionally avoiding the immediate consequences of her actions. Ultimately, the court sentenced the 53-year-old Lana Clayton to serve 25 years in a state correctional facility. While the family felt that no amount of time behind bars could fully compensate for the calculated loss of their beloved brother and friend, the conclusion of the legal battle provided a definitive measure of justice. The investigation highlighted the critical importance of the family's persistence. Had they not insisted on a comprehensive toxicology panel, the crime may well have gone undetected, officially recorded as a natural cardiac event. The primary motive behind the tragic act was determined to be financial gain. Under prevailing estate laws of South Carolina, in the absence of a legally binding will, the entirety of a decedent's estate automatically transfers to the surviving spouse by ensuring the disappearance of any estate planning documents. The path was clear for total control over Stephen's substantial wealth and cherished properties. In the years following the conclusion of the case, Stephen's family and friends have worked tirelessly to preserve the beautiful, vibrant memory of the man they lost. While they miss his physical presence deeply, it is the sound of his boisterous voice, his booming laughter, and his larger-than-life personality that echoes most profoundly in their hearts. Stephen Clayton was a man who lived to bring joy to others, a dedicated mentor who poured his soul into the success of the next generation, and a fiercely loyal brother and uncle. Though his life was cut tragically short by an act of profound greed, the legacy of his kindness, his humor, and the love he shared remains entirely unshakable, continuing to inspire everyone who had the profound privilege of knowing him. This is the story of a successful and generous businessman, hello, who meets a nurse with a heart as big as his own. She struck me as being very quiet, but very sweet and very nice, and falls head over heels. He could not hide the feelings he had for her. He was very much in love with her. But when a sickness consumes their marriage, we just knew that there was something was very wrong. Money is no protection. This is not a natural death. Welcome. Tonight we celebrate the joining of two wonderful people. It is March 10th, 2007 in Miami. A big day for bride Rosemary Clayton and her family. She is finally marrying her love, William Leslie. That is Rosie's oldest brother, 52-year-old Steve Clayton, proudly walking her down the aisle. 11 months prior to my wedding, we lost our dad. I asked my brother if he would step in. Of course, there was a lot of tears. I could not imagine anybody else standing in place for my dad. Who gives this woman to be married to this man? I do in the memory of my father. It was sentimental to be gathered at something so special where my dad was not present. With their father's passing, Rosie's brother Steve is now the head of the family. And though he has never had children of his own, he has always been a father figure to his siblings. When my father and mother were married, Steve was just about 2 or 3 years old. He had 4 sisters, and I am the youngest. He was 10 years older than me. So there really was not a moment when Steve was not in my life. Steve was my big brother, and he was my hero. He was everything a little girl would want in a big brother. He played football, he wrestled in high school, and so that really made him bigger than life for me. After high school, Steve graduates college with a degree in finance and quickly matures into a shrewd businessman. Steve, with a partner, started a company called Physical Therapy Resources. That eventually became a national company with physical therapy centers all over the country. Steve and I met at work. He was in the hospital, and I was in the same hospital. And that is how we met and became friends. He was very successful and eventually sold his interest in his business. And basically from that point on, he was retired. His goal was to retire at the age of 40. He missed it by 1 year. He retired when he was 41. Selling his business frees up Steve to do whatever he wants. And what he wants to do is give back. He would mentor such a large group of young men, helping them start up a business, or helping them find out what direction they want their life to go. Steve was extremely generous with not only his resources, but with his time. And Steve always has time for his family. Rosie films as Steve teases their Uncle Max. It is special. My dad was not so funny. He was more serious. Serious, much more serious. He was always serious. But where did that money come from, Steve? I do not know. And when his sister Rosie gets married. It is Steve's good humor that makes him the life and soul of the occasion. Please get up, Steve. Plate. Steve was always the first guy to get up to give a toast anywhere. Hello, hello, hello. It was always ad-lib for him from the heart. This is my way of getting away from the emotional stuff. William, thank you so much. I am not going to look at you. Thank you so much for making my sister so happy. And my dad, Steve is never one to hide his emotions. My dad told me before he passed to take care of my sister, to honor you, and he loved you very much. I have to get serious here. All right, I am cool. All right, you guys are great companions. You are great partners. And my sister, I have never seen her happier. After the speeches, Steve steps up for the father-daughter dance. He came up, and we got ready to dance. And before the music started, we had a very, very powerful moment. A surprise recording of their dearly departed father plays out. The best moment of my day was when you were climbing my knee. You would say, "Daddy, I love you." I miss those days. I really do. Because I love you too. He had so many duties that day. He was my dad. He was the best man. He was the entertainment. He was the one that kept everyone calm, kept everyone laughing. He was a natural at it. Despite his success and close network of family and friends, Steve's own romantic life has been rocky. He looked for a partner that was as focused and determined, and loving and caring as he was. And that is a tall order to fill. Now 52, his family figures it will take a very special person to sweep him off his feet. I think Steve was always looking for somebody on a level he could connect with emotionally, intellectually, spiritually. But 3 years later, that is exactly what happens. In late 2009, Steve decides to leave his home state of Florida for a change of pace in North Carolina. He really loved being physical. He loved walking. He loved anything to do with being outdoors. So when he moved from South Florida to North Carolina, he had the opportunity to be outdoors a lot more. Within just a few months, Steve announces that he has met someone special. He seemed to have a glow that he had been missing for a little while, and he was excited. Her name is Lana Walsh. 12 years his junior. She is a nurse who grew up in Oklahoma. She struck me as being very sweet, very quiet, but very sweet. And this quiet kind of stood out because Steve is not very quiet. Steve's personality was gigantic. She was more like a wallflower. Despite their differences, Steve is sure she is the one. They were very affectionate with each other, always arm in arm. Steve always hugging her, squeezing her, kissing her. I felt happy for my brother. So, of course, anybody that he loved, I was going to embrace. It is not long before Steve asked Lana to move in with him. After they got to know each other quite a bit more, Steve persuaded her to come to Charlotte. And, you know, Steve can be very convincing, and they add some new additions to the family. The first dog that Steve and Lana got was Guinness, an Italian greyhound. They loved the breed, and so they decided that they wanted another one, and her name was Sadie. With Lana, Steve finally feels he has found his missing piece. Steve always had great things to say about her. He referred to her as his Lana Sue. He could not hide the feelings he had for her. He was very much in love with her. I think Steve found himself well-grounded with Lana. I felt like Steve found a certain sense of peace with her. Steve Clayton came to North Carolina for a change from his old life and found a whole new future. When Steve Clayton danced with his sister at her wedding, he dreamed of finding his own special someone. And now, 6 years later, he is about to marry the love of his life, a Veteran Affairs nurse named Lana Walsh. It was a lovely day in November 2013. Many of us had traveled to North Carolina just to be there and enjoy that day with him, and he made it very special for everyone. Lana and Steve's wedding took place at their house in Charlotte. It was such a beautiful event. You could just see the love. Just beaming both of them were. Soon after, the couple decided to relocate and move into their forever home, just over the border in South Carolina, on the banks of Lake Wylie. It was like something on a postcard, this gorgeous ocean blue home. Sitting on a gorgeous piece of lakefront property, it was very lovely. The couple set about refurbishing their new home, decorating it with Steve's collection of artworks and antiques. Steve was the kind of person that objects were very personal to him, and he was very proud of his possessions. They were all unique in some way. The move allows the couple to indulge in their love of nature. So if there was something fun and outdoors to do, he was going to be the first one there, and he was gung-ho about it. Their relocation to South Carolina also means the pair are closer to Steve's extended family. I married Steve's niece in 2010, so I officially became his nephew. We hung out with Steve and Lana a lot when they moved up here. We would go out to dinner with them. We would go to concerts. We would go to special events every holiday. They are also just a 30-minute drive from Lana's son and grandchildren. And the pair never say no to a bit of babysitting. Steve had a way with children, because Steve has always been a child at heart. So he is the kind of guy that gets down on the floor and plays with the kids. Pop goes the weasel. And with the kids around, there is never a dull moment in the Clayton household. Here, Lana filmed Steve attempting to describe the limbo, while her twin granddaughters watch. We will make Papa do it. So there's a stick, and I gotta go like that. And I gotta go under the stick. And I gotta get real low to get under the stick. It is a game. It is a dance. These are dances. You have to tell me how to act it out. Lana is tickled, but the twins are more interested in their ice cream. Steve enjoyed playing all kinds of games, whether it was Scrabble or even a silly child's game. You want me to get in, do you not? You do you not? Just spin the spinner and then turn the handles many times. 2, and put your head in the thing. Put your chin on the thing. Okay, A, E, D, F, spin it forward. Both of them, or one, both of them. Steve was a huge teddy bear. They loved to play with him. He always had kids hanging on him. What number did you get? 3. And Lana is always game for some fun, too. Oh no, it is coming. It is coming up. It does it every time. Here it comes. Here it comes. Cheers. 5 years into their marriage, Steve and Lana appear to be thriving. But in June 2018, Steve suddenly falls ill. He says he feels dizzy, complaining of vertigo. He said that his ear hurt and that he felt nauseous, and he started getting sick in the yard. And I felt real bad for him. I knew that he had had issues with vertigo. You know, prior to this, he said he had been very ill and did not know exactly what was wrong. He just remembers that he was working out in the garden, and he started to feel dizzy, a little nauseous, a little dizzy, headache, and he thought that maybe he had gotten sunstroke. You okay? Yeah. As a nurse, Lana thinks the best thing for Steve is bed rest. He said he remembered laying down, and he said the next time he opened his eyes was 36 hours had passed. Worried, Rosie calls Lana to see if she can explain Steve's mystery illness. I asked her what she thought was going on, because that is very odd for any person of any age to lose 36 hours of time. And she said that he was fine, and that she was watching him, and she was making sure he was okay. Though he has never been ill like this before, Lana thinks that Steve is just exhausted. I felt reassured that Lana was there to take care of him in any way that she could, especially with her knowledge as a nurse. It seems Steve's larger-than-life energy is starting to catch up with him. But just 2 weeks later, it appears Lana's treatment has worked. Steve is back to his old self, throwing a party for the 4th of July. That party was just as great as every other party we had been to there. Steve was his normal affectionate self. Everybody had a great time. Here is Steve dancing with Lana as they celebrate in style. He grabbed Lana right away, and we just kind of followed suit and all joined in. I remember watching them hug and him kiss her, and they were completely in love. Things are good at the Clayton home, and no one doubts Lana and Steve's lives are going to be happy and long. On July 21st, 2018, a call comes into York County 911. Police units arrive on scene, and body cam footage recorded by responding Officer Sergeant Day captures what they find. As they walk in the front door, there's Steve right at the bottom of this grand staircase. And unfortunately, at that point, he is gone. He is dead. You hear him kind of whispering and talking in low voices. That is because Lana Clayton is just around the corner, distraught and crying. So they do not want to say anything that is disturbing to her. So she said she left the next day. Did not put anything, just his wife and family. Sergeant Day needs to talk with Steve's wife, Lana, to find out what has happened. Ma'am, I am Sergeant Day. I am going to be here for just a little while, until the coroner gets here and transporting those things. Oh no, ma'am, I am just fine. It feels good to me to stand, if I am not making you uncomfortable. Lana tells Sergeant Day that Steve had been suffering dizziness for 2 days. Stephen had been very ill with vertigo. She had found him Thursday morning that he stood up, got very dizzy and collapsed, that she had to help him upstairs, and since that time, he has not been back downstairs. Miss Clayton, you were outside. You were working outside? I was mowing the lawn real quick, and when I came in, I fell down. I am so sorry. I tried to take a blanket underneath me, but I could not. Despite her training, Lana was unable to render aid to Steve. That is when she, I think, really panics because she knows she cannot do anything further to help him. And so she immediately ran out when she heard the motorcycle coming by to wave someone down to call 911. Nephew Nick French is on duty as a police officer when he gets the news. My mom called and she said, Uncle Steve died. And, just kind of disbelief. I mean, I knew it was for real, but, it did not really sink in. So I got down there as quick as I could. I just remember the whole time going through my head was, how? Why? The phone rang, and I saw that it was my nephew calling. He said, Uncle Steve died. Uncle Steve died. That was not possible. It was not possible. How could he be gone? No, I cannot believe it. With Rosie 700 miles away, Nick and his family rally around Lana. I felt awful because I knew she loved Uncle Steve. And I just kept thinking, I am upset right now, but I cannot imagine what she is going through. To find her husband, on the ground like this. Lana fears Steve's vertigo could cause a fall down the stairs. She kept saying that, I think he fell down the stairs, and that is horrible, and I hope he did not. Sergeant Day checks for any signs that Steve may have been attacked. This looked like it was probably a natural death, but you never know. So Sergeant Day does at that point go upstairs to look to see what has happened. That would be a little unnerving to just go through a labyrinth of a house that you had never seen before, because you never know what could be around the corner. You can tell that there does not appear to be a sign of struggle. No other signs of someone else being up there having done something to him. Nothing significant at all. In the master bedroom, the bed sheet is all rumpled up, but nothing to suggest Steve had any kind of struggle. It looks as if the cause of death will not be a mystery for the coroner. The coroner cannot see any contusions or bruises. Nothing suggests Steve fell down the staircase. So she put the floor under him? Yeah, she tried to move it. It looks as though Steve made it to the bottom of the stairs and then collapsed. The coroner said, I believe he had a heart attack. And I kind of said, what leads you to that opinion? And she said, well, the coloration of his face. There was blueness that went across the top of the chest, almost in a line. And that oftentimes, according to the coroner, is an indication that he may have had a heart attack. Back in the living room, Sergeant Day tells Lana what they think has happened. When I walked to the top of the stairs, I noticed that the carpet on the staircase kind of has a direction to it. So I can see footprints. I think he may have come to the bottom of the staircase. Do not dwell on the staircase, because I know that is a hard claim to make. I do not know how he made it. I do not know what he was thinking. I think this was the day God chose. That is what I told him. While Lana digest the news, that objects were very personal to him, and he was very proud of his possessions. They were all unique in some way. The move allows the couple to indulge in their love of nature. So if there was something fun and outdoors to do, he was going to be the first one there, and he was gung-ho about it. Their relocation to South Carolina also means the pair are closer to Steve's extended family. I married Steve's niece in 2010, so I officially became his nephew. We hung out with Steve and Lana a lot when they moved up here. We would go out to dinner with them. We would go to concerts. We would go to special events every holiday. They are also just a 30-minute drive from Lana's son and grandchildren. And the pair never say no to a bit of babysitting. Steve had a way with children, because Steve has always been a child at heart. So he is the kind of guy that gets down on the floor and plays with the kids. Pop goes the weasel. And with the kids around, there is never a dull moment in the Clayton household. Here, Lana filmed Steve attempting to describe the limbo, while her twin granddaughters watch. We will make Papa do it. So there's a stick, and I have got to go like that. And I have got to go under the stick. And I have got to get real low to get under the stick. It is a game. It is a dance. These are dances. You have to tell me how to act it out. Lana is tickled, but the twins are more interested in their ice cream. Steve enjoyed playing all kinds of games, whether it was Scrabble or even a silly child's game. You want me to get in, do not you? You do not you? Just spin the spinner and then turn the handles many times. 2, and put your head in the thing. Put your chin on the thing. Okay, A, E, D, F, spin it forward. Both of them, or one, both of them. Steve was a huge teddy bear. They loved to play with him. He always had kids hanging on him. What number did you get? 3. And Lana is always game for some fun, too. Oh no, it is coming. It is coming up. It does it every time. Here it comes. Here it comes. Cheers. 5 years into their marriage, Steve and Lana appear to be thriving. But in June 2018, Steve suddenly falls ill. He says he feels dizzy, complaining of vertigo. He said that his ear hurt and that he felt nauseous, and he started getting sick in the yard. And I felt real bad for him. I knew that he had had issues with vertigo. Prior to this, he said he had been very ill and did not know exactly what was wrong. He just remembers that he was working out in the garden, and he started to feel dizzy, a little nauseous, a little dizzy, headache, and he thought that maybe he had gotten sunstroke. You okay? Yeah. As a nurse, Lana thinks the best thing for Steve is bed rest. He said he remembered laying down, and he said the next time he opened his eyes was 36 hours had passed. Worried, Rosie calls Lana to see if she can explain Steve's mystery illness. I asked her what she thought was going on, because that is very odd for any person of any age to lose 36 hours of time. And she said that he was fine, and that she was watching him, and she was making sure he was okay. Though he has never been ill like this before, Lana thinks that Steve is just exhausted. I felt reassured that Lana was there to take care of him in any way that she could, especially with her knowledge as a nurse. It seems Steve's larger-than-life energy is starting to catch up with him. But just 2 weeks later, it appears Lana's treatment has worked. Steve is back to his old self, throwing a party for the 4th of July. That party was just as great as every other party we had been to there. Steve was his normal affectionate self. Everybody had a great time. Here is Steve dancing with Lana as they celebrate in style. He grabbed Lana right away, and we just kind of followed suit and all joined in. I remember watching them hug and him kiss her, and they were completely in love. Things are good at the Clayton home, and no one doubts Lana and Steve's lives are going to be happy and long. On July 21st, 2018, a call comes into York County 911. Police units arrive on scene, and body cam footage recorded by responding Officer Sergeant Day captures what they find. As they walk in the front door, there's Steve right at the bottom of this grand staircase. And unfortunately, at that point, he is gone. He is dead. You hear him kind of whispering and talking in low voices. That is because Lana Clayton is just around the corner, distraught and crying. So they do not want to say anything that is disturbing to her. So she said she left the next day. Did not put anything, just his wife and family. Sergeant Day needs to talk with Steve's wife, Lana, to find out what has happened. Ma'am, I am Sergeant Day. I am going to be here for just a little while, until the coroner gets here and transporting those things. Oh no, ma'am, I am just fine. It feels good to me to stand, if I am not making you uncomfortable. Lana tells Sergeant Day that Steve had been suffering dizziness for 2 days. Stephen had been very ill with vertigo. She had found him Thursday morning that he stood up, got very dizzy and collapsed, that she had to help him upstairs, and since that time, he has not been back downstairs. Miss Clayton, you were outside. You were working outside? I was mowing the lawn real quick, and when I came in, I fell down. I am so sorry. I tried to take a blanket underneath me, but I could not. Despite her training, Lana was unable to render aid to Steve. That is when she, I think, really panics because she knows she cannot do anything further to help him. And so she immediately ran out when she heard the motorcycle coming by to wave someone down to call 911. Nephew Nick French is on duty as a police officer when he gets the news. My mom called and she said Uncle Steve died, and, just kind of disbelief. I mean, I knew it was for real, but, it did not really sink in. So I got down there as quick as I could. I just remember the whole time going through my head was, how? Why? The phone rang, and I saw that it was my nephew calling. He said, Uncle Steve died. Uncle Steve died. That was not possible. It was not possible. How could he be gone? No, I cannot believe it. With Rosie 700 miles away, Nick and his family rally around Lana. I felt awful because I knew she loved Uncle Steve. And I just kept thinking, I am upset right now, but I cannot imagine what she's going through. To find her husband, on the ground like this. Lana fears Steve's vertigo could cause a fall down the stairs. She kept saying that, I think he fell down the stairs, and that is horrible, and I hope he did not. Sergeant Day checks for any signs that Steve may have been attacked. This looked like it was probably a natural death, but you never know. So Sergeant Day does at that point go upstairs to look to see what has happened. That would be a little unnerving to just go through a labyrinth of a house that you had never seen before, because you never know what could be around the corner. You can tell that there does not appear to be a sign of struggle. No other signs of someone else being up there having done something to him. Nothing significant at all. In the master bedroom, the bed sheet is all rumpled up, but nothing to suggest Steve had any kind of struggle. It looks as if the cause of death will not be a mystery for the coroner. The coroner cannot see any contusions or bruises. Nothing suggests Steve fell down the staircase. So she put the floor under him? Yeah, she tried to move it. It looks as though Steve made it to the bottom of the stairs and then collapsed. The coroner said, I believe he had a heart attack. And I kind of said, what leads you to that opinion? And she said, well, the coloration of his face. There was blueness that went across the top of the chest, almost in a line. And that oftentimes, according to the coroner, is an indication that he may have had a heart attack. Back in the living room, Sergeant Day tells Lana what they think has happened. When I walked to the top of the stairs, I noticed that the carpet on the staircase kind of has a direction to it. So I can see footprints. I think he may have come to the bottom of the staircase. Do not dwell on the staircase, because I know that is a hard claim to make. I do not know how he made it. I do not know what he was thinking. I think this was the day God chose. That is what I told him. While Lana digest the news, Nick and his family helped with cleaning up. We wanted to make the house still comfortable enough for her. We knew she was going to be exhausted, and she had to spend the night there. But they are shocked at what they find in the bedroom. When we went upstairs, I immediately noticed the smell. It was a smell of human filth. Excrement, urine. So we looked around, and there was huge urine discoloration spots. In the middle of the bed, the soil mattress raises some questions. So I am thinking the amount of urine that it would take to soak through this mattress. Steve had to have been going to the bathroom in this bed for days. So we immediately thought, we have to get this mattress out of the room. We could barely pick it up. It was extremely heavy. We took the mattress and we tossed it out of the house. When Rosie talked with Lana on the phone, she asked her, how did Steve get so ill? Hello? When I spoke with Lana much later in that evening, I asked her, what happened? And she said, he had not been feeling well for a few days. And I said, well, why did not you call somebody? Why did not you let somebody know? And she said, well, he was starting to feel better. She says Steve never called because he had been sleeping heavily and misplaced his cell phone a week earlier. Lana claimed that it had been missing for several days. My brother was never, ever without his phone. He just was always attached to his phone. It went everywhere with him. It was at that point where I really felt like something very sinister was going on, and I did not know what it was. Steve's sister Rosie asks his widow Lana about his will. Steve and I had talked many times about what it was that he wanted to do when that time came, and he wanted to be buried in that beautiful cemetery in Fort Lauderdale. When I asked Lana, she said there is no will. Lana has already made the arrangements. Steve is due to be cremated, and she is planning his memorial. On August 4th, 2018, Lana holds a service for Steve at their home. It was highly emotional. Everybody there felt such a deep connection to Steve. It was just hard to stay calm, even though it was supposed to be a celebration of his life. It just could not help but feel just the deep, deep sorrow that everybody felt. If there is any space that it is okay to be sad and to cry a little bit, this is that time. And I think that it is okay today, that we celebrate a life well lived and at the same time be sad. At the memorial, Rosie and the family are surprised to find Lana has already started to clear out Steve's belongings. She had already began taking all of his clothes, all of his personal items, and she donated them all to the VA. I was almost knocked off my feet to see the number of hangers, empty hangers, in that closet with not a single stitch of clothes. A lot of watches missing, a lot of jewelry missing. His wedding ring was missing. And Lana's claims about Steve not having will raise his further suspicions. That is something that Steve and many other people had discussed, was how important it was to make sure that everything was in order. There's absolutely no logic in my brother, an accountant, a person who is meticulous with his finances, not having a will. The family feel like something is not adding up. We are all on the same page here. We know something is going on. And that was when we called the medical examiner's office and said, hey, please do an autopsy. And at the very least, if you're not going to do that, do a toxicology. And they agreed to it. Detective Moats of the York County Sheriff's Office is also notified of the family's suspicions about Steve's death. Good morning, everybody. But when the autopsy report comes in, it lists signs of heart disease and points to death by natural causes. Ah, yes, thank you. The initial autopsy still shows that it is likely a heart attack, but they have to wait for the toxicologist report to come back to finally make an actual finding. It will take a few weeks before those results arrive, so we waited on pins and needles for the truth to come out. We just knew that there was something. Something was very wrong. Thank you. When the toxicology report on Steve Clayton's blood comes back, it is shocking. It shows traces of several sedatives, including marijuana, temazepam, and Benadryl. But that is not all. The biggest shock in the toxicology results was tetrahydrozoline, also known as THZ. It is the active ingredient in eye drops, like Visine Murine, or other over-the-counter eye drops. THZ is not ever meant to be ingested, given in small doses. It makes you feel very ill. It makes you nauseous. It makes you dizzy. It will make you pass out eventually. But in large quantities, it is deadly. It shuts your central nervous system down, and it will kill you. The detectives learned that THZ can limit the blood supply to vital organs, leading to a heart attack. When the body chem goes up there, the Visine you see is on the tall dresser. That is away from the bed. That is where he cannot get up to get the Visine. Now it is very clear. This is not a natural death. Detective Moats needs to have a talk with Lana Clayton. 5 weeks after the sudden death of her husband, Lana Clayton is questioned by detectives. You know, if you were a witness in this case for us, the detectives want to know more about the medications found in Steve's blood. You know what he would say? He took Benadryl. It is a long list, but there is no mention of THC, the drug that killed Steve. It is colorless, it is odorless, and it is tasteless, which makes it the perfect thing to give to someone if you want to poison them. The level of THC in Steve's blood was so high that it was clear that it was the cause of death. It is a lethal level. No matter what way you look at it, the detectives press on. Somehow or another, there was a large amount of Visine in his system. So that is what we are trying to get to the bottom of. I know he puts a Visine in his coffee. He puts it in there every day. What do you know about it? What I know about it? I know it makes you have diarrhea. There are basically two things that the police are now considering. 1, he is poisoned. There's foul play. 2, he ingested it on his own, whether it was intentional or unintentional. But as police probe Steve and Lana's relationship, how has your life been? Sometimes we would have fun and everything. And then sometimes I would be on eggshells. All the time I was on eggshells. Lana claims that Steve had a dark side. He can be really nasty. What does nasty Steve look like? He is really verbally abusive, calling me names. Like what would he call you? I do not know. Stupid bitch. I do not know, just all kind of things. I could see it escalating until you notice. Just, try and stay out of his way. After Lana's interview, detectives order a search of the house. They are looking for cups or glasses that have a residue in them. They are looking for anything they can find. That helps them determine what could have caused this. Anything document-wise that would show trouble in the marriage. But during that time, Lana tells the officer that she wants to speak again with Detective Moats. Detective Moats records what Lana has to say. I told you a little bit about Stephen. That was worse than what I told you. He was verbally and physically abusive. Lana, for God's sake, and yell at me and call me names. His anger built up, I would do something that would irritate him until the point where he would explode. Okay, what are you trying to do? Huh? After he had that incident, which he said it was vertigo, and I was taking care of him and everything, but I was still so angry. And my girlfriend at work told me, you want to get even with somebody, put Visine in a drink. It will cause diarrhea. It is then that Lana drops a bombshell. When I saw that Visine on the table, it just came back to me, and I just took and squirted it. And what did you squirt it into? His water. Into his water? So you do not know the full amount. I mean, you just squeezed. I think I put the whole thing in. So the whole bottle? I think I did. I squeezed it hard. I just saw it there, and I just did it. What are your plans tonight now? Just stay here. You will be okay. I know it is a lot on your plate. Just what if I do? What if I cause his death with the Visine? Anything else that you want to add? No. If there is more, get off your chest. That is it. It is a damning confession. But the detectives cannot arrest Lana just yet. After Lana confessed, the police left. They got their ducks in a row as far as what charges would be made. And they were ready to come back the next day to arrest Lana Clayton. But early that morning, they get a call from one of Lana's neighbors. They found notes of suicide. They are afraid that she has harmed herself. She knew the police were coming back the next day, and she knew they would have warrants for arrest. She turned the gas on and went upstairs and took some pills to kill herself. They find her unconscious in her bed. She is taken into the hospital, where she is treated and ultimately released, and then immediately arrested on the charges of murder and tampering with food items. The family is informed of Lana's arrest. A detective from York County called me and said, "Hey, Nick, I just want to bring you up to speed here." Lana confessed, and I pulled over right away. It hit me like a ton of bricks, literally like a baseball bat to the face. I answered the phone, and Rosie was on the other end screaming that she killed him. On January 16th, 2020, Lana accepts a plea deal